Alrighty, that's all of our good things. I had to think for a second, what else do we have to say? But you didn't come here to listen to us, even though I think maybe our voices could be entertaining and soothing.
Beautiful.
We are here for Julie and Grace, aren't we? So why don't we give a big round of applause as we welcome the incredible Julie to the stage.
Woo! Thank you, ladies. Thank you. All right. Alrighty. Kia ora koutou. Oh, what a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for your beautiful, warm welcome. Although I don't really know if it's warm because I'm basically menopausal, so I feel warm all the time. Anyone else like menopausal or perimenopausal or thinking about it or done it or any? I'm in great company. Look, I've got I'm not kidding. I've got everything. I've got my fan, just in case. I got my glasses. Everything's falling apart. Who has more than 2 pairs of glasses? Because you've got reading ones and then ones for later and then ones for in between reading and yeah. Oh, look, you're a good looking bunch. Beautiful. Actually, I was speaking at a conference in Perth a few weeks ago and I went out to the park next door to the conference and I was walking along. It was a beautiful sunny day when you're out walking in a park. And I saw this lovely group of people and they were walking around and they had a piece of fabric with them. And they seemed to be doing some kind of, I don't know if it was some kind of cultural or religious ceremony, and they were moving in and out with this piece of fabric. And I was like, that is just so lovely. Isn't that great? I was like, oh, you know, I'm so progressive and so up with the play, this beautiful thing in the middle of the, and I got closer and closer. I realized they were just folding up a picnic blanket. I've lost the plot, I've lost my eyesight, it's all happening, but an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Julia Grace, and I am so excited. Thank you so much for inviting me, for the organisers. Tonight we're going to talk about being kind to our minds, looking after our mental health and our well-being. All good? You with me? Oh, I love that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself just to start things off, not to blow my own trumpet, but simply when it comes to talking about mental health, I think you need to know that you're in safe hands. I'm actually the president of the New Zealand Speakers Association. Now, when I was in Perth, a rumour went through the conference that I was the president of New Zealand. I just went with it. So I'm not, clearly, but there's a portion of Western Australia that think I am. So will you just help me out with that? We'll just go with it? Yeah, okay, cool. No, absolute pleasure. Now, I'm also a Educator of the Year and a New Zealand Music Award winner. I'm going to do some songs for you later on this evening. And I won a New Zealand Music Award a few years ago now, and Helen Clark presented me with my award. She said, congratulations, which was exciting and frightening at the same time, right? You remember Helen? Yeah, absolutely. I also have the pleasure of having been a teacher. Any teachers in the room? Oh, wonderful. Teaching's a wonderful profession. Where else do you get paid to turn up at work and say things like, Vihan, stop licking the whiteboard? True story. I'm also an author, and recently I have released my first book, and we've given some away already. Who got the books already? Amazing. Lovely to see that. So I'm going to be speaking tonight from my book, Be Kind to Your Mind. Someone said to me, you know, creating or writing a book, it's like having a baby, but I've got to be honest, it was probably worse, although that was pretty hard, because it was a 6-year pregnancy and a rather odd shape to deliver. As you can imagine, being a rectangle, but I'm going to be speaking from this tonight, and we're going to talk about how we are doing in our mental health journey, because one of the things that I had to learn was to find out a bit more about my mind and about caring for my mental health. And so I'm going to be gathering information, but also gathering inspiration and taking you on a bit of a journey around your mental health and well-being. I'm also a mental health first aid instructor, if anyone's ever done mental health first aid, and that's an amazing privilege to do that. I absolutely love doing mental health first aid. And I think my greatest qualification in the space of mental health and wellbeing is actually my diagnosis. A number of years ago, I had what I call my neck minute year. You familiar with the concept of neck minute? Everything was going really nicely, neck minute, just kind of all turned to custard. And I was going through a stage in my life where things were going quite well and going quite nicely. I'd hit my 40th year. And in one conversation, my husband of 17 years decided that he no longer wanted to be married to me. Now this was for my world, for my faith, for my whānau, for my life. This was a meteorite that came flying out of left field. I bet every single woman in this room would have a story of something that's come flying into your world, something that has flipped your world upside down, unexpected, that has made you sit back on your heels and go, I'm going to have to reassess my life. And for me, that was one of those situations. And I started to deal with some things that I really had not been prepared for. As I was going through those situations, I was discovering that the stresses in my life were just going up and up and up. You know, sometimes with our mental health and well-being, it's all the big things that really impact us, and sometimes it's just all the little things, right? Because sometimes those things just add up. And so what was happening was the little things were starting to add up, and people started to notice that my mental health and well-being was not going that well. And I realised that I was going to have to deal with something more than just a rough day, something more than just a heartache, and I was actually going to have to go and get some medical, some professional, and some counselling help. I'm going to be really honest with you ladies tonight. It's been a deeply humbling experience living with a diagnosis of depression and anxiety. I'm not embarrassed, and I'm not ashamed, but I've had to really rethink my attitude to a few things. Does that make sense? Because sometimes I was a little bit judgmental about these things in the past. And I like to say my life is like a long series of getting knocked off my high horse and getting back on progressively smaller horses. And right now, I'm saddling up a Chihuahua. Now, as you may have already seen on the slide there where it snuck up ahead of me, I'm a big fan of Chihuahuas. So that's a bit about me. I'd like to know a little bit about you. And I'd like to actually know, which Chihuahua are you tonight? So someone's going to have to dive in and help me here. I want you to chat amongst yourselves. I'm going to call you back in 1 minute to tell me which Chihuahua you are. Alrighty. We got any happy number ones? Who's got some chirpy? Oh, we like that. We like to have some chirpy people with us. They're already going whoop whoop for us. That's nice. Who's feeling a little bit like a number two? Kind of like not quite sure. My friend invited me. Who's this chick? Felt a little bit of pressure. Couldn't say no. Struggle with boundaries. You know those people. Yeah. Someone's friend is putting their hand up for them. You definitely struggle with boundaries. All right, number three. Anyone number three? Oh, okay, keep away from them. Sorry, I'll just stay on this side. They're a little bit feisty already. All right, four. Yeah, I call this dazed and confused. Just kind of like, am I in the right place? What's going on? Absolutely. 5. Wishing you were. You got a few down the front here. Just keep nudging them, keeping them awake throughout the session. And of course, underneath all, who's a number 6? You know what? You all are. Turn to the person next to you and say, you're fabulous. I'd like to share a song that was a number 1 single when I was in the 6th form, which I do believe we now call year 12, yeah. And way back in who remembers the 80s? Oh, good, I'm in company. I spoke a few weeks ago at a place called booking.com, so it's a tech company, and I was like, who remembers the 80s? None of them. Not one of them was born before 1990, so I'm in some company here, but I love you young ones as well, because we all need to look after our mental health. But this song was Top of the Pops, and it was by a singer called Cyndi Lauper. Back in a day when I had a spiral perm, because we all had spiral perms in those days. And I do believe that we have a lot in common. She turned out to be a little bit crazy, and so did I, so that's all good. But I love the fact that it talks about being there for one another. It talks about the fact that sometimes we lose touch with our friends, sometimes we lose touch with our loved ones, but we can always keep those doors open to those who would be there for us. So this is True Colours. You with the sad eyes, well, don't be discouraged or realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all in the darkness inside and make you feel so small. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. Your true colors are beautiful like a rainbow. Well, show me you're smiling. Well, don't be unhappy. I can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy, you take it all you can, then you call me up, because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. Your true colors are beautiful to me. Thank you. It's actually really nice to speak to women in a group. I think women are pretty awesome. And I think we've had a bit of a bad run. I do speak to lots of mixed groups, but, guys can be a bit of a tough crowd. They like to, they struggle to, smile and stuff. And I was singing at an event. They like to give you the gruff face, and there was a guy sitting right in the front row, round about where you are, sort of about that distance, Anna. It wasn't this beautiful lighting like we've got here tonight in this amazing setup. It was kind of like, bright lights, fluorescent, and he was just, the whole time I was singing, he was giving me what I can only describe as the death stare. Just like the stink eye. And I'm like looking really relaxed and confident, but inside I'm like, he hates me. I don't know what it is about me he doesn't like. Anyway, at the end of the event, I was at the back at the CD table and ready to sell some merch, and he started to make a beeline for me. And I thought, I don't know what it is about me he doesn't like, but I think I'm about to find out. But as he came closer, I noticed something interesting. He had a little tear coming down the side of his face. And he gets up close and he goes, "Julia, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." I was like, bro, a little bit of feedback during the song would have been really helpful, but thanks anyway. So thank you, ladies, for smiling and laughing along with me. But I think, as women, there have been some really tough times in history. I'm glad I'm a woman now, not like way back in the day when things were far worse. I'm glad I deal with mental health challenges now rather than back in the day when the so-called cures were really, really difficult as well. But I think that, there have been some wonderful inventions that have helped women out over the years. There's been like the washing machine and the dish, and like Dr. Phil and, Facebook and stuff like that. But I think there's one invention that has been more uplifting for women across the board than anything else. And that would have to be the push-up bra. Now, some of you young ones looking at me like, I don't need one of those. You will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually Mother Nature has a way of levelling out the playing field, so to speak. So tonight I thought, seeing as it's just ladies in the house, I thought we would have a song, we'd have an ode, an homage to the wonder that is the Wonder Bra. When I'm down and things are pointing southward, instead of sky, you're gazing at my knees. I could be calling National Geographic, but at times like these, you're all the girl could need. You raise me up and make my molehills mountains. You raise me up, you turn my A's to B's. I'm not alone when you are on my shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be. Didn't see that coming, eh? I have to give an apology. If you really love that song in its original form and you were planning to have it at your funeral, I'm really sorry. But if you can prove it, I'll come and do that version. Deal? Sounds good, eh? In fact, I was singing that once and there was all women in the audience, but we just had men in the tech department, and at the end they stood up en masse and gave a standing ovation. I don't know if it was for me or for the bra in general, but I took it as a compliment. Alrighty, let's talk about our mental health and our well-being, and I'm going to see if things are going to be working. Michael's onto it. Fantastic. Now, I use two wonderful models of learning. Who's familiar with this one, Te Whare Tapawhā? This is such a wonderful model, and it talks about the fact that every single one of us, there's more to us than just one facet. It talks about considering te taha hina ngaro, our mental and emotional well-being when we think about well-being and wellness. And that's why we're here tonight. So well done. You've already made a wonderful step. It talks about te taha tinana, looking after our body and our physical well-being. Because who knows that how we treat our body physically has a massive bearing on how we feel mentally and emotionally. And the easiest way to know is to get yourself a toothache and realise it's very, very hard to concentrate on anything else when our body is in pain. We've got te taha whānau, we've got our social and relational well-being. If we think of our whare or our house in the form of these walls, I want you for a moment just to think about your relational wall. How is that wall of your life? Have you got people in your world that are building up your wall? Or have you got people who are standing outside throwing rocks at you, eroding your wall and well-being? And can I encourage you to think carefully about who you're inviting into your world and how they are affecting perhaps your mental health. And of course, te taha whānau, our social well-being, and te taha wairua, our spiritual well-being. The parts of us that we cannot see, that we can't necessarily feel in that moment, but these are the things that are happening under the surface, that beautiful wairua, the spiritual well-being. We're going to talk about them tonight a little bit more. But I use this modality that says mental wellness issues are RUM. They are reasonable, universal, and manageable. First of all, they all make sense. Everyone give me a thumbs up. They make a lot of sense. Mental health issues are a reasonable response of the body to the pressures of life. They make a lot of sense. If I fell off the stage and broke my ankle, that would be a reasonable response of my body to falling off the stage. Dealing with stress and pressure is a reasonable response of the body to all the things that we are handling in our everyday life. Secondly, universal, we are all on a wellness spectrum. There are no those people. I was speaking once at an event and a lady said to me, "Why did you put a mental health event on in this suburb? You should have done it in that suburb because there's more of those people over there." Ooh, can you feel it? Ooh. I was like, wow, what do you mean? There are no those people. There are two things that we need, ladies, in our lifetime to deal with mental health challenges: breath in our lungs and a brain in our head. That's it. Wherever we are on that spectrum, we will be dealing with things. You might just be under a bit of pressure or feeling a little bit stressed and maybe a little bit burnt out, or all the way through to a diagnosis or a clinical diagnosis in that space. It doesn't matter where we are, we all need to look after our health. And of course, there's always someone in every room who's like, oh, Julia, I don't need to hear about this wellness. I'm really well. Well, you can always get weller. Because you can tell a weller woman by the way she wears her hair. Thank you, Naomi. I knew you were going to help me out. And of course, in the wonderful words of Rachel Hunter, it won't happen overnight. But it will happen. Young ones are there like, what the heck is going on? Talk to your mum. She will explain, all will be revealed. And finally, great news is manageable. There are so many tools in the toolbox. One of my favourite messages, and I get to speak to students and young people and old people all around, is that dealing with mental health challenges is not the end of the road for you. There's so many things that we can do to help support our mental health and well-being. Some days I wake up with a diagnosis of depression and anxiety, and I wake up and I have to get all the tools out of my tool belt. Some days I wake up and I need to go and seek professional help. I need to go to the doctor. I need to get that support for me. And other days I wake up and it's like you'd never even know. And that is actually fine. Reasonable, universal, manageable. So many tools in the toolbox tonight. All right, so why am I here? I've got a couple of statistics that I like to think about that have really helped me. According to the Mental Health Foundation, 1 in 2 New Zealanders will meet the criteria for a mental health diagnosis in the course of their lifetime. That's a lot, eh? And 1 in 6 New Zealanders will be feeling the physical effects of a mental health challenge at any given time. Now, I want to take a moment to reflect and pop that into your world. Just pop that statistic into your group, your club, maybe your church or your whānau, your family. 1 in 6 people might be dealing with that at any time. Now, if you look down the row and you see 5 sane people, guess what? You're it. No, I'm kidding. Some people are looking very worried. No, it's okay. That's not how statistics work. I don't mean that. But we could have a group of 6 people, all who feel great, and you could have 6 people, all who are not feeling well at all. And you know, that's fine. But isn't it an interesting thing to think we need to be kind to our mind at any given time? Now, we get stuck in this little pattern when it comes to our mental health, and we've got a circular problem where we say to people, if you need help, ask for help. We encourage people to reach out. I've got some bad news for you. On my difficult days, when I'm feeling really wobbly, when my mental health is not great, on my difficult days, chances of me reaching out for help are around about 0. And there's some really good science around that. And so we rely on people who are already under pressure to ask for help, and they're not going to ask for help when we end up. Can you see the circular pattern we get stuck in? And it becomes really, really difficult. So we need to plan ahead when it comes to looking out for our mental health. So I've created this thing called grabbable words. And you guys are going to be given grabbable words on the way out. I believe you're going to be given a resource to take away with you to help you and to help your family to talk about mental health in a much more fun and easier to manage way. Because if we don't have better language, we get stuck in what I call the Great Kiwi Chat. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of the Great Kiwi Chat. You ready? It's very deep. Goes like this. Hey, how are you? Good. How are you? Good. That's it. Who's had that conversation already today? Look, we do it all the time. We just want to... We've turned how are you into like a greeting. Oh, how are you? We just keep walking. Don't even have time. And so unfortunately, we get stuck in the situation where we feel like everyone's okay because they said, how are you? Good. Even though they're not. We need to ask better questions, ladies. We need to have a little bit more language in our tool belt. Now, I've been a school teacher for many years, so I've been asked some incredible questions. Now, I was teaching in West Auckland, and I was wearing a ring one day. I had a big piece of glass on it about that big. And one of the kids goes, oh, miss, is that a real diamond? I said, if that was a real diamond, do you think I'd be here? I've been asked, what colour is this blue pen? How long is the 40-hour famine? That was from a parent. Yeah. I was wearing a t-shirt and it was kind of grey on grey, tone on tone, had a map of New Zealand on it. And one of the kids goes, oh, miss, I think you spilled coffee on your shirt. I said, is it in the shape of New Zealand? They're like, oh, yeah. So when they say there's no such thing as a silly question, clearly haven't taught for very long. But, we need to have more language, better questions, and a little bit more time up our sleeve. Now, what I'd love to do tonight is talk a bit about our brain and find a bit about how we're all different, but we've all got a lot of things in common. So we're going to play a little game called Put a Finger Down. Okay, I'm only going to use one hand. If what I say is something that you can relate to, I want you just to count off your fingers on your hand. And we're going to see at the end how many of us have fingers still standing. All right, first one is put a finger down if you've ever felt tired from doing a lot of thinking. So you've been doing maybe planning or writing or dealing with a lot of drama. Maybe you've got someone in your world who sucks up a lot of energy and you come out of that situation. Is anyone not like that? Yeah? We know this happens because we step out of situations and we go, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted and I haven't even done anything. Yeah? Your brain is an energy-hungry monster. It is 2% of your body weight and uses up to 20% of your energy and up to 40% under heavy cognitive load. When you have to do a lot of thinking, your body gets tired, and that's okay. All right, put a finger down if you've ever forgotten something and then remembered it at a random time. Yeah. Anyone? Yeah, okay. When do we normally remember it? 3 a.m., middle of the night? Anyone? Yeah. We say, I'm going to put it out of my mind, and then we can't. You put it out of your conscious mind. Your brain hates not knowing the answer. It goes to work in the background. You'll see the little Rubik's Cube up on the screen. It is in the background going, whoa. When you meet that person, I had a terrible situation. I was at a conference once, and this lady came up to me, and I meet a lot of people in my job, and I couldn't place her. When you meet someone out of context? And you're like, where do I know you from school, from work, whatever. And I knew her, but I couldn't remember where. And I thought, well, we'll just get talking. And then eventually I'll figure it out, right? Anyway, so we started talking and Michael, my husband, was with me and he was sort of off to the side and we started to chat and she chatted on and I just couldn't figure it out. And the whole time she was going, and I found out her husband's name, her ex-husband's name. I found her ex-husband's new girlfriend's name. I found a lot about the family I probably didn't need to know. And all this information, at not one point did I figure out who she was. And at the end of it, she said to me, oh, Julia, I've got a lot going on in my world. Could you pray for me? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So then I'm like trying to pray for someone I don't know their name. So then I'm like, oh, Lord, just bless my sister. This wonderful daughter of yours. Got all the way to the end, and then Michael came up to me and he goes, who was that? I was like, I don't know. Thank goodness for Facebook. I stalked her later and I found out who she was. So what happens is you put it out of your mind, but then your brain gets busy trying to figure it out. Now, can I give you some bad news? If your brain can't figure it out, it makes something up. Your brain feels deeply uncomfortable not knowing the answer. It's like when you go to something and someone tells a joke and everyone else gets it and you don't. Has anyone ever had that situation? Everyone's like, oh, and you're like, ha, ha, ha. It feels really uncomfortable. Your brain's like, I'm not happy. And then you go home and you get it later. So brains like to work in the background. Would you agree that we live in a world with a lot of things that we don't have answers to? There's a lot of Rubik's Cubes going on in the background, and there's a lot happening. So it's no wonder that we're feeling maybe a little bit stressed and a bit tired. Put a finger down if you've ever walked into a room and forgot why you were there. Okay, I've spoken on 5 continents and we all do the same thing. What do? A, we walk back out and we pretend it never happened. We try and trick the universe. And sometimes it works. Beautiful. Put a finger down if you've ever struggled to get to sleep, even though you're really tired. Ooh. Yeah, I was speaking in a college the other day and a kid yells up, every single night. My goodness, there's a big difference between being tired and being sleepy. We don't need to work hard on being tired, right? I think we've all pretty much got that down. We do need to work a little harder on getting sleepy so that our bodies can be ready to sleep and we're not tired but wired. I'm going to be talking tomorrow morning a bit more about that in Lifeswitch. I'm going to talk a bit more about some really good things around your sleep and your well-being, and it's some more on that in my book as well. All right, put a finger down if you've ever got stuck on a negative comment. Someone has said something to you that's a bit negative, somebody's given you a bit of negative feedback, you got a bad grade in a thing at school, and it goes round and round and round in your head. Anybody? Can you show me how many fingers you've got held up now? Have we got anybody with 5 fingers in the air? No? Can everybody look around? Give yourselves a huge paki, because I can see people with 1, none. Amazing. Isn't it interesting how we're all different, but we're all really, really similar? Now, what happens is that your brain's number one job is to keep you safe so that when negative feedback comes into your world, it is going to highlight things that are scary. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're bad. What it means is your brain is trying to keep you alive. It's trying to keep you safe. I want to tell you a little story about one time where I got stuck on some negative feedback. I'd released my second album, which is called Beautiful Survivor, and I'd had all this beautiful feedback, people saying, oh, we loved that song, we loved that album, it was really great, and it was really nice. And I was like, cool, cool, cool. And then one person didn't like it. But they not only didn't like it, they gave me a really bad review. Now, I was on my own in a hotel room in Australia, late at night, feeling tired and vulnerable at the end of an event. Who knows that on your own, late at night in a hotel room, feeling vulnerable is not a good time for negative feedback. Yet when do we scroll social media? Late at night, feeling tired and vulnerable. I was on my own and I flicked open my laptop and somebody had sent my album through to this woman who was in a heavy metal band. Now, I can see what you're thinking, right? As you can imagine, she would have hated me, everything I stood for, all my music, absolutely, and someone had asked her to review my album. Not a great choice, right? So she sent through this review. Julia Grace sings like a kindergarten teacher. Now, I love kindergarten teachers, but I wasn't planning to sing like one, right? So that was not a good start. But it got downhill from there. There's a song on the album called Open Window, and she said the song Open Window was the only song on the album that didn't make me want to throw myself out of one. Oh! Everyone go, oh my gosh. Now we can laugh about it now, right? Can you imagine what I did at the time? I burst into tears. I cried my little heart out. I was devastated. And I felt like it didn't matter if 1,000 people loved my song, if 10,000 people loved my song, because one person didn't. And that's scary. So when you get bad feedback, our brain highlights it because that's the thing that is dangerous to us. When we're dealing with young people, we need to make sure, particularly, who's got kids in their world, like nieces, nephews, children, young, yeah, okay. When we're dealing, we need to give them some positive feedback. We need to give them some nice stuff first, and then have the spicy conversation in the middle. Because sometimes we've got to have spicy conversation with people, right? I call it a jalapeno sandwich. We need a bit of nice stuff at the start, and then we've got to have spicy kōrero, and then we finish with a bit of nice stuff at the end. Now, sometimes when we're dealing with kids in our world, we don't feel like giving them a big sandwich. We feel like giving them, like a great big chili in the middle of 2 communion wafers, and that's about it. That's about all they get. But actually what we need to do is we need to remember that we live in a world that highlights a lot of negative things. And so we need to be a little bit more positive in what we do. So I'm a big fan of positivity. So I've got some things. What do I do in these moments when I feel like stuff is going to get stuck? And I call these sticky words. We're going to look at what happens when you get those words that get stuck in your head. So if you're one of the people who put your finger down and you said, yep, I've got stuck on negative feedback, this is what you're going to do, okay? We're going to feel it, we're going to face it, and then we're going to forget it. All right? So first of all, feel it. It does not feel pleasant. When your brain feels like it's under scrutiny, when it's under siege, when it's not safe, it's not going to feel good. You will feel like a fire is raging inside of your body and you'll be feeling all sorts of stress responses. You might want to go and, run away or punch the wall, or you might just be feeling really, really agitated. It is not going to be nice. Can I tell you something? Those chemicals will wash out of your body in 90 seconds if you don't continue to tell yourself the story. How many minutes is 90 seconds? 1.5. Do you think you could live for 90 seconds, even though it feels like forever? So if someone's really annoying you and you start going 90, 89, 88, 87, what are you doing? Stop, 86, 85. First of all, we're going to feel it. The second thing we need to do is actually we've got to put our big girls' pants on, and sometimes we've got to face it. Sometimes we've got to go, you know what, maybe I have done something wrong. Has anyone ever done anything wrong? Is it just me? You know, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I was at work and maybe I didn't do a great job of that assignment. Maybe I did try and has anyone ever tried to hand in an assignment that was really bad in the hope that it would get passed and then you got found out? And you're like, damn it. Sometimes we've got to face it and take responsibility. Sometimes we just have to be big and say sorry and say, hey, look, I'm what can I do to help? Sometimes we have to face it. Sometimes we need to have a kōrero and bring somebody else in and go, girl, this happened, what do you reckon? And they might help us to just moderate that and say, hey, look, what can we do to help? Maybe they might even say, you know what, that sounds like a them problem. And we can work on that together. So we're going to feel it, we're going to face it, and thirdly, we are going to forget it. Now, this is easier said than done, but sometimes we have to do quite a big action. So we've done all the feelings, we've done what we can to deal with it, and now we're going to let it go. Up on the screen, you will see a little fry pan, and it's made of Teflon, and it's smooth. And you throw something in that fry pan, and it will just get straight off. So I have this little thing, I like to say, whatever. Whatever. Now, it's best with a British accent. And I'm from West Auckland, so it's best with some hand signals. So can I just get everybody, just put your hand up like this, a little bit of whatever. And we're just going to go a little bit of whatever. Now, I want a bit of attitude, but whatever. Because it's like better in a British accent, right? We're going to start over here, and I'm going to get these ladies, and I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, we're going to say whatever together. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, whatever. Oh, I like it. It's a bit of attitude in here. Quite aggressive, some of them, a bit scary, but I'll come over here. All right, in the middle here. Do you reckon you can do better? There we go, 3, 2, 1, whatever. You ready? 3, 2, 1, whatever. Oh, I like it. I like it. Here's all the sassy ones. Down here, down the front. All right. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1, whatever. Now, I don't recommend you do this like at your boss's face. Sometimes it needs to be an internal whatever. You might be under the table. Zooms are good for this because you could be whatevering all you like and no one will ever know. You're like, whatever. But we're just going to let it go. We're going to do this all together. We're ready? 3, 2, 1, whatever! Oh, I've never done that all together before. That was pretty epic, wasn't it? Oh, I liked it. I liked it. All right, we need to celebrate our wins. Ladies, we live in a world where our brain is constantly giving us information when things are tough. And it's there to keep us safe, so we've got to kind of go the other way. So I like giving out medals. Now, I give out medals all the time. I gave myself a medal. I've never won this is my husband, Michael. Say hi to Michael. And can I just clarify, this is not the one that left me. Listen, although I do introduce him as my current husband just to keep him on his toes. But he's, hey babe, thank you. He's all embarrassed now. So when he's got long hair and when he lets his hair down, he looks a bit like Jesus. So sometimes in the night I think I'm having a vision. I'm like, ooh, is that you, Lord? But no, it's just him. But you know, I'm living dangerously. All right, anyway, moving on. Okay. Now, what I love to do with this is actually spread a bit of positivity. So what I was going to say was that Michael's daughter just had a baby. So we became grandparents, which is exciting. And I've never won a Grammy. I've won a Tui. I've never won a Grammy. And so she said I can call myself whatever I like. So I called myself Grammy. So now I walk into the room and I pick up the baby and I go, and the Grammy goes to... You're welcome. You can try that. So what we're going to do is we're going to give out some awards. I like to compliment people in supermarkets and spread some love. And I'm going to ask you to be brave and see if there's anyone here who would nominate someone that you're with, well, a friend, or maybe you come with your sister or someone that you know who's just blimmin' awesome. And you reckon, I can see somebody waving already. We want to know who you're nominating and why you're nominating. Look, now, can you go over there? Somebody is raving vigorously. Over there. All right, she is going to self-combust. I don't know if your friend's going to self-combust. Who's this? Tell us about who your mum. Yep.
I love her. She's amazing. She brought me to the Lord, and I'm so happy to have her in my life.
Beautiful. What's her name?
Ness.
Ness. Everyone give a round of applause to Ness. I love that. Ness has to wear her medal. Beautiful. All right, babe. I'll give you.
Somewhere in the middle.
All right, so maybe someone in the middle here. Who'd like to nominate someone? Right, we've got a beautiful lady here. Okie dokie. Who would you like to nominate?
My best friend Zelda.
Zelda, my best friend Zelda. Yep. Why?
She's joyous and infectious and has just taught me how to love really hard.
Oh, I love it. Joyous and infectious and taught her how to love really hard. Well done, Zelda. Yeah, awesome. Okay, we've got this beautiful wahine here. She is vigorously, who? Kirsty, auntie to all the kids, help you with the drop of the hat. Oh, I love that. Isn't that cool? I love doing this with kids too, and in high school we get them to do it. And in fact, I was at a school and they nominated one. She said, I'd like to nominate my teacher. And I was like, that is so nice, like from this 15-year-old girl. I said, what would you like to say? She goes, well, at the beginning of the year he was barely tolerable, and now he's a little bit more tolerable. So I wasn't sure if it was a compliment or whether she was really trying to get at him, but sometimes it can feel awkward to celebrate the wins because we do end up in a situation where we beat ourselves up for all the things we do wrong. And actually, as women, we need to celebrate one another. Can I encourage you, if you see someone who's done a bit of effort to get themselves out and make themselves look good, and just say, hey, you look great. Spread some love, spread some positivity. If you're going to compliment someone, maybe start with, this might sound weird, but, or even, I'm not a stalker, but. That does help because then you can compliment them. Feels a little bit better as you go along. So we're feeling it, we're faking it, we're not faking it, we're feeling it, and we are facing it, and then we are giving it a big whatever. All right, let's talk about it. So that was our first grabbable word, was around that concept that stressed out brains are offline brains. That brains under pressure go offline and struggle to problem solve. Because stressed out brains are offline brains, we need to have nights like this to make a plan around our mental health and well-being. And I know for me, as I mentioned before, that diagnosis of depression and anxiety came at a time when I didn't know much about my brain. And I didn't know much about what was going on in my body, and I felt really stressed out and really offline. And so by learning a bit more about it, I've been able to help myself and hopefully to help you. So my second grabbable word is to recognize your wobbly point. Now, what do we mean by the wobbly point? The wobbly point is the point at which your body is telling you that something is wrong. Something just doesn't quite feel right. Sometimes we talk about our gut feeling, we talk about our sixth sense, or just that sense inside that our body is saying something's not right. We don't necessarily know what's wrong, but we know something's not quite right. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could recognize our mental health challenges at the wobbly point, rather the point at which the jelly has fallen right off the plate, and actually start to listen to our bodies and learn a bit about it. Now, the thing I love about the language of the wobbly point is anyone can use it. I use this with little kids. We talk about the wobbly point. I use this right up, talk to my dad who's like 87. We talk about the wobbly point. If I say to you, you can tell me when you're feeling wobbly, it just kind of takes the sting out of the tail of dealing with a mental health challenge. If you said to me, I'm wobbly, I don't need to know who, what, when, where, how, why, what you had for dinner, what your mum said when you were 7. I don't have to have a counselling session with you. All I know is I'm going to treat you a little bit differently. If you come into work on a Monday, you might not want to talk about, a clinical diagnosis or something really heavy, but you might say, hey, I'm a bit wobbly today. And if you can't even say the word, just enter the room like this. We'll get the message. I've already had someone this week, she said somebody walked into our boardroom with a wobbly walk, and we all understood exactly what she was saying. So what do we mean by the wobbly point? What's happening inside our body when we're under stress and pressure? What is happening at that moment of the wobbly point? When brains are put under pressure, we go into one of 4 stress responses, and you'll probably all be really familiar with these. Have you seen these? Yep, so if I put you under pressure, you'll either feel like fighting, flighting, trying to get out of that situation, you'll go freeze response or fawn response, and I'll talk a bit about them. Fight response is where we come out firing and we do something about the problem, either in a good way or maybe not such a great way. Who knows that if we yelled fire in this room, you would do something about it? Your first reaction would be to fix the problem. We've got any people? Well, we've got 2 people, that's great. Hopefully we don't have a fire. No, good. I know lots of us. Who knows you'd be, here I come to save the day. You'd be a hero. I love it. Some people are wired to do this and we need them. Who knows that you'd be just, who feels like you're a flighter? You'd be like, where's the closest exit? Just run away as quick as possible. The ladies who sat by the door, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I know for me, this is what it's like for me. When I get put under a lot of pressure, I'm just like, where's my keys? Where's my phone? I'm out of here. The third one is that freeze response where we go really still and we don't even know what to do or say, and we go almost like tongue-tied. Have you ever had that situation? You know, we all do this actually in restaurants, particularly Kiwis. We sit down for dinner and we're like, oh, this meal is terrible. It was the worst meal I've ever had. It was awful. Oh, yuck. When that lady comes over and asks me about my meal, I'm going to tell her all about it. I'm going to say, oh, this is awful. And the lady comes over, how's your meal? Oh, it's fine. We freeze up, you know. Ever had a meeting with your boss or a meeting with maybe like someone at work and you think, oh, I'm going to go and tell them. I'm going to tell him. You go into the meeting. How's everything? Oh, no, it's great. Yeah, nah. And we head out and we're like, oh, what an idiot. Next time I'm going to take notes. We get back in. We freeze. It's a perfectly normal stress response to do that. The last one is fawn, and fawn you may not be familiar with. This is where we overcompensate, we over-apologise. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. I can see some people going, that's me, or yeah, it's all my fault. I'm a terrible friend. I'm the worst friend in the world. I'm a terrible sister, terrible daughter. Take all the blame real quick in the hope that it all goes away. Anyone sitting next to a fawner? Yeah, you're already laughing at them now, aren't you? You know that those are people. It's a really normal stress response, and it's just something that our body tends to want us to do. So probably the easiest thing to do is not, rather than maybe just talk about it, it's actually better to feel, because each one of these stress responses has a very physical activity in the body. What happens is it changes the way our heart rate goes, it changes the temperature in our body and does a bunch of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for a little wander, and I'll get Michael just to grab my guitar there and get it all ready to go. I'm just going to grab someone out of the audience to jump on up. Oh, the back. Oh, the best singer's at the back. Hey, we're going to get someone just to jump up, grab my mic. It's nice and loud. And they're going to grab my guitar and they're going to sing us a song. Is anyone brave enough to admit that my physical presence is making you uncomfortable? Some people are just looking away. They're looking away. Has anybody's heart rate gone up a little bit? A little bit? Any heart rate racing? Is anyone temperature rising? Anybody feeling a little bit aggressive towards me? They're looking at me like, oh, she's from West Auckland, but I reckon I could take her. I'm going to come around here, you people are there. Oh, she's like, smile. If I smile at her, she might go away. Now, if I come around here, is anybody finding that they're getting a sense of like maybe butterflies in their tummy? Just at the thought that I might pick them? Anybody? A lot of smiling. Ladies are so nice, eh? Anybody feeling a little unwell? Anybody looking for their phone and their keys? Right about now? Just pick one. I've got... No. Oh, she's gone into fight mode. Oh, I'm getting away. She's gone into fight mode. Ladies, I've got good news for you. I'm not going to make you sing. Everybody go... All right. Did anyone feel their heart rate go up? Did anyone feel a little bit of butterflies in their tummy? Did anyone wonder if it was kind of hot in here or whether my menopause fan had really kicked in at this point? You know, even though we know that I'm probably not going to make you get up here and sing, your body responds anyway. Isn't that interesting? Every day we get put under situations that put us into stress response, and our body responds regardless of what's going on. What we're going to do is we're going to do a little box breath. We're going to take a little moment because I feel like you're all very polite, But there were definitely some people. There's always someone who's like, I feel nothing. That's rubbish, and I do not feel any of those things. Which one are they? Fight. Yeah. I'm like, okay. It's perfectly normal and it's okay. But we're going to do a little box breath, because what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for 4, we're going to hold it for 4, we're going to breathe out for 4, and then just hold it. It's just going to calm our central nervous system down. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Breathing in. And hold. We're going to breathe out. Hold. Nice. What do we do when our body goes into a little bit of a spike? Now, I kind of did that for a bit of fun and a bit of a laugh with you guys, but every day we will have situations where our bodies go into a little bit of maybe a worried or an anxiety spike. I was getting ready to go on a plane to Delhi at the beginning of the year, speaking at a conference, and I was standing in the queue. I had my passport and my boarding pass, and all of a sudden I felt all the things that you guys were feeling there. My heart rate went up. I felt like my breathing went shallow, the temperature went up, and I felt like my eyes kind of went wide, and I just started to feel like an anxiety spike. And I knew that if I didn't do something about it, this could turn into a panic attack. So what I didn't mention earlier at the start there was I've dealt with these things before, and this is an ongoing thing for me. So sometimes I deal with days where I wake up, like I said, and it's very wobbly. And I need to watch and care and look after my mental health and well-being. And other days, everything's fine, and next minute, something just seems to go wrong. It was like my body pulled the fire alarm, even though there was nothing happening. So I'm standing in the queue, and I was like, what can I do? I can't go and get like a counselling session. I don't want to make a big fuss in the middle. So what do I do when there's a bit of an anxiety spike? And I do this thing called feet feel whānau. So first of all is that just to get moving. So if you're feeling agitated, if you're at work or you're at school and things are starting to wind you up, I would say move your body at the next possible moment. If that means straight away, where you just kind of like time out, need to go for a walk, or you just need to go to the water cooler and happen to find yourself grabbing a coffee and coming back, or maybe at the next break, the next thing you have in your schedule, get out in nature and just go for a little walk and get moving. Get some of that energy out of your body as quickly as possible and move. That's the feet. The second thing is fuel. Sometimes what we need is something as simple as a little snack, maybe just like a little brain break, maybe a drink of water, just having something that can distract us and slow our heart rate down. Does anyone get hangry? You get so hungry you're angry? Yeah, one of my nieces is like this. We have to almost throw food at her. She gets very, very grumpy. And you get, what happens is a bit of low blood sugar, and you feel like it's just all starting to escalate. And sometimes, just in that moment, we can grab it with something as simple as having a little snack or a drink of water. And then the last thing we've got up there is the whānau, and that is to tell your jelly buddy. Tell your jelly buddy. Now, what is your jelly buddy? Your jelly buddy is a person that you have pre-planned to be part of your support network. This is somebody who you've already had a conversation with. Now, you will have noticed I've got jellies all over my work. We're talking about the wobbly point, we're talking about jelly buddies. We've also got some gorgeous little jelly buddy key rings out the back there. And people grab these to hold and remind themselves that they've got somebody on their side, because a jelly buddy is a person that you've pre-planned and talked to about being part of your support network. I've even got cards. Sitting down and having an awkward conversation on a good day, preparing ourselves for the wobbly days. Because on the day is too late, because stressed out brains are offline brains. And so we need to have these conversations. We've got insurance for the house, insurance for the car, insurance for the cat, and we make no plans for our wobbly days, and yet we all have them. Now, some people are like, oh, I don't want to call it a jelly buddy. That sounds lame, Julia. Call it the concrete club. I don't care. Just do it. You need to have a conversation. So what do? We find someone that you trust and love and sit down with them and say, hey, would you be my jelly buddy? Would you be somebody who I can trust to speak into my world when I'm wobbly, and somebody who will not take, hi, how are you, good, for an answer? Does that make sense? These are the people, and I say to my jelly buddies, look, you can turn up at my house at any time. And if I don't answer the door, break a window. And if the cops turn up, show them your jelly buddy cars. I guarantee this will stand up in a court of law. I do not guarantee this will stand up in a court of law, by the way, but definitely worth a shot. But having some people that you have already pulled into your world and had the tough conversation, talk on the good days, ready for the rough days. Now, people say, I don't want to be a jelly buddy because I'm so nervous. I've got great news for you. 97% of your communication is non-verbal. Most of what we do, you've got this tiny little bit that are the words that we say, and the rest of it is our tone of voice and our body language. So if you turn up to your friend's house and you can't even think what to say, just make sympathetic noises. Just go, oh, oh, babes, oh, girl, you know, and just make some funny noises. When I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, I went through a period of time where I just had a massive depressive dip. And I started to put in place a lot of things to help me, but it was a tough time, right? And people reached into my world at a time when I was already struggling to let them know. And what happened was they were able to be with me. I cannot tell you what any of them said, but I can tell you who was there. Either by their physical presence, or by sending me a message, or by sending me an email, or by sending me a gift, or just checking into my world one way or another. Sometimes we feel like we're scared to say anything because we don't want to say the wrong thing. And you know what? That's a really valid fear. But can I encourage you that your presence is the most important thing? When I was going through that difficult time, I had some friends that used to just play words with friends with me. They used to just play like online Scrabble. For about a year, my brain was mush, my stressed out brain was offline. I lost every single game. And one of them, there are a couple, and one of them, she said to me, oh, Julia, I feel like I let you down because in that time, I never really did anything much for you. I was like, you have no idea how many times I'd be breaking down, and my phone would go ding, and I'd look at it, and I'd be, Scrabble. Cat, C-A-T, you know, terrible, terrible player. But I appreciated not only was it a distraction, what it does is it let me know that somebody was there for me. So make sure you get yourself a jelly buddy. Ka pai? All right, the last grabbable word we're going to talk about tonight is the 1 degree of change. Now, sometimes we talk about well-being and we want to do big things. You know, we're like, oh, I'm going to get well and I'm going to get really, really healthy. And what's going to happen is I'm going to go to the gym every day for the rest of my life. No, you're not. I can guarantee you that you're not. But what we can do is we can make some small, measurable changes. We go into this in a lot more depth in the book, and I encourage you to grab yourself a copy and to grab one, maybe for a friend as well, and work through that with them. But I want to just quickly, in an hour, we don't have a lot of time, but I want to just quickly whip through some of the tools that I use on the daily. You'll notice that I don't talk about fighting, overcoming, battling, casting out with depression and anxiety. I talk about dealing with and managing my mental health. This is an ongoing, lifelong issue of well-being. It doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum. You might be perfectly well, but you can still look after your well-being tonight. So I'm going to give you some tips and tools on how I deal with this on the 1 degree of change. Now, the first one, they all start with a F. I was going to call my message Julia Grace and the F words, but I've been told it's not appropriate, so it's not called that. So just wipe that off the tape. But the first one is a F, and it's whānau. Now, people say, well, if you're going to say F, why don't you say family? Can I be honest? Sometimes your blood relatives aren't the best people to talk to about your mental health, right? It can destabilise relationships, and sometimes they're dealing with similar things themselves. Find someone else if so. If I'm struggling with motherhood, I don't sit my daughter down and be like, oh, I'm not really enjoying this motherhood thing. Hey, because I'm going to freak that girl out, right? I find another mother, and I sit her down and go, not really enjoying this motherhood thing, and she's like, same. And we work it out together, yeah? So be wise who you open your heart to. Be mindful, because these are close, important things, right? These are personal. I'm asking you to speak quite openly, so be careful who that's to. All right, the second one is therapy. Now, as you can see, I'm going kind of fast and loose with this, but I love this picture because the lady on the right-hand side there, or your left-hand side, she's got this bundle of wool, and the therapist, the counsellor, that person with her, she hasn't taken the wool away, but helped her to make sense of the story. Sometimes having a counsellor or somebody external just to talk to can just help you to make a bit of sense to what's going on. And actually there's some incredibly powerful therapeutic practices that people can assist you with. So don't forget your therapists. All right, the next one is fullness. Now, the definition of depression is a dip. And if you imagine a dip in a beach ball, if you try and suck that from the outside, it's just going to keep appearing somewhere else. The only way to get rid of the dip is to inflate the ball from the inside out. I call these things that make you go, Things that make you go, Stuff that makes you come alive. Not what you have to do, not what you need to do, but what do you want to do? Now, I want to be super clear here. There are times and phases in life where this is way harder than others. Probably the most difficult time when you have young children in your world, whether you've got little ones of your own or little grandchildren or something they can be really, really challenging. But I'm going to challenge you to carve out a little bit for you. Just finding some stuff that's for you. I remember getting in my car one time and we had the 6 CD player. We're very fancy. 6 CD. Remember CDs? Yeah. Jeepers. But we had 6 in the car, and my kids, I adore my kids. I've got 2 children, but they were slowly taking over the CD player. And what was happening is one album started to be like, one of theirs, and then another one was one of theirs, and then another one was one of theirs. And eventually I got in the car and all 6 albums were theirs. We had, now this is bearing in mind, it's a long time ago, we had like One Direction, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, One Direction, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber. Now, I don't mind any of those, but they're not my music. And I hit the roof. And I'm like, I've had enough. I've had it up to here. My daughter's like, I thought you liked Taylor Swift. I was like, yeah, but she's not my pick. This is my car. And I remember speaking at a women's event, and a lady messaged me later on. She goes, Julia, I've done 1 degree of change. I've reclaimed the auxiliary cord. That's mine. This is my car, and it's going to be my music. I encourage you, we don't have to be mean. Well, you can if you want, but take back something that's yours. As women, we're really good at just rolling over and going, oh, well, that's nice. We go along with that. What do you like? What are the things that you like to do, watch, listen to, things that are there for you? Yeah? All right, the next one is faith. Now, my faith has been an anchor in my world throughout my journey. And I know for me, I've come from a faith background and a faith community, and I was brought up in faith. And it's become, during crisis times, very skinny and deep. I'm less concerned about what everyone else is doing and far more concerned about just a faith that is very simple. I feel that, I'm called to love God with my heart, soul, and mind, and to love other people as I love myself. And that's kind of it. That's kind of where I get to with that sort of stuff. So I encourage you in your mental health journey to do those faith practices. They could be complex or, beautiful religious practices, or they could be as simple as just taking off your shoes and walking in the water, wandering out on the grass, enjoying the beauty and the wonder of nature as it is. So faith can be a wonderful part of our journey. The next one, I hate to break it to you, but the last thing you feel like doing, honestly, when I'm in a depressive dive or a high anxiety spike, I do not feel like getting out and moving. But it's one of the best things we can do. It will literally give you endorphins and dopamine. Free drugs, lady. Free drugs. Just go out and do it. Just get out there and walk. Because what will happen is you won't feel like it the first time, but you'll start to make a pattern. Remember what I said? 1 degree of change. Don't start with a marathon. Just start with a walk around the block, or even up and down the stairs. That would be enough to get your body moving and to get your heart rate up. Now it's going downhill from here, I do apologise, because the next one is even worse because it's our food. Now, I'm not going to give you a lecture once again because we all love yummy food, but we'd be silly to ignore the link between our food and our mood, what we are actually putting into our body, and with that also comes hydration. Drinking plenty of water and keeping our brain hydrated can definitely affect our mood. And it's so easy, we want to do all the fancy things, but we don't want to drink a glass of water. I encourage you to do the small changes first, kapai. All right, the next one, pharmaceuticals. Now, I was a teacher, so I can spell, and I know it's not an F, but I'm really grateful for the medical professionals that have helped me with my mental health. A number of years ago, I had open heart surgery, and I'm really grateful for the surgeons who operated on me, opened me up and closed the atrial septal defect, if there's any medical people in the room, on my heart, and increased my lifespan by 20 to 30 years. I'm equally grateful for the medical professionals who have helped me deal with depression and anxiety. I take antidepressants, I take a medication called fluoxetine, and I take it for myself, but also for my family, for other people around. I take it for you guys. I find for me it's been a lifesaver and a game changer. There is no pressure from me to do that. Antidepressants are not a silver bullet, they don't fix everything, but what they helped me to do was go back to the top of the list and go through the list again. If you need to go to the doctor, I encourage you to go. It's between you and them and up to you what you're going to do with it, but please don't feel stigma to stop you from getting medical support. Right, the next one we've got on there is forward focus. Get something in your diary for you to look forward to. You know, we get so bogged down in today, what's going on now. Sometimes we just need a date in the diary that goes, that's going to be fun. You and your jelly buddy, before you leave tonight, start thinking of who that person's going to be. Start thinking of how you're going to make that plan. And then start thinking about maybe something you could do. Now, I'm all about cheap and free. I'm like real cheap. One of my struggles with my work is that people think they don't want to book me because they think I'll be really expensive and very hard to get hold of, and difficult. So I've come up with a marketing slogan, Julia Grace, she's cheap and easy. The marketing team doesn't like it. No, but what I mean is that I'm all about finding a shortcut and finding a nice, cheap way. Just get out and do something cheap or free. Just find something that's fun for you to do that doesn't put more pressure. Because spending money you don't have is going to be worse for your mental health. Can you relate? Yeah, absolutely. All right, and the last one on my list here we've got is the wonderful thankfulness. I know, I'm really pushing the envelope here. I'm just going to pop this across here for later. Now, thankfulness has had a bit of a bad rap because people look at it and they're like, oh, gratitude, lame. I've got such a big problem, and yet you tell me to be grateful. Now, many years ago, I was dealing with that neck minute year when things were really tough. I was dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety, and I talked to a friend of mine who's a psychologist, and he goes, Julia, what I want you to do is I want you to get a little diary and I want you to write in that diary, the gratitude journal, every day something you're grateful for. I was like, bro, that's a dumb idea. Like, I have a big problem and this is your tiny solution. Do you want me to tell you about my problem again? He said, no, once was enough. I just need you to get out there and try. I was like, oh, okay. Now, I am very passive aggressive, so I do tend to do what I'm told, but I do it with a really bad attitude. So I went down to Paper Plus and I chose myself the smallest diary I could find. And I took it home with a stink attitude and I opened it up and I wrote, I'm alive. And I flipped it up the other way. And the next day I opened it up and I wrote, I've got 2 beautiful children. Because I do. And the third day I opened it up and I thought, I should probably take this seriously. And I wrote, I've got a roof over my head. Now, it wasn't the roof I used to have. As you can imagine, when the husband left, I lost the house. Well, I didn't lose it, I know where it is. Somebody else is enjoying it now. But anyway, I had to do. I was living in a little dingy little rental with an eye-wateringly high rent. And it wasn't the house I used to have. But you know what? It's actually better than like 90% of the world who struggle to find a place to live. And I'm actually really grateful for that. And what I found is that every day I could find one thing that I could be grateful for. And I got to the back of that diary and I flipped it over and turned it back and worked my way backwards. And I found that the more I started to look for things to be grateful for, the easier it became. Now, I'm a big fan of a shortcut, so I did a little bit of research and found out something really interesting. First of all, when you express gratitude, it gives you a brain boost. Feelings are up. You get a dopamine hit, the same feeling you get when you win lotto. Apparently, never won. But anyway, just that little bit of a feeling of like, oh, that's nice. Same thing you get when you go and, tell someone, give them a compliment. You get a little dopamine boost, so bonus. The second thing that happens is your stress response is down. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Those things are dampened down. And that's actually really cool too. But the best part is the more you do it, the easier it is. Now, there's this thing called frequency illusion. Can you geek out with me here for a minute, called the Beta-Meinhof phenomenon? Your brain highlights what it already knows. When you buy a new car, what do you see? All over the road. Oh, car like mine, car like mine. Has anyone had this phenomenon? Yeah. What happened? And is there more of your car on the road? Probably not. But your brain will highlight more of what you already see. I found this, we bought a Land Rover, just like an old Land Rover truck, and Michael's like, oh, well, now we're in the Land Rover club. So when you see people in Land Rovers, they're going to wave at you. And I'm like, I don't care, but that's cool. I used to drive a Honda. There was no Honda club anyway. We pulled up so we had two family vehicles, the Land Rover and the work van. We pulled up to an intersection next to another Land Rover, and we both had our windows down. I thought, now is my chance to try this out. So I waved vigorously at the guy next to me, and he just looked at me like I was crazy and looked away. I was like, rude. I thought, I'll give it another go. So I waved again. He looks again, winds the window. I said to Michael, this guy, it's a bit rude, eh? Can't believe he's not waving at me. And he goes, babe, it would help if we were driving the Land Rover. We were in the work van, yeah. So when we go looking for things, can I encourage you, if you've got kids in your world, get them out happy hunting, looking for things to be grateful for. The more they see, the more they'll see. The more they go looking, the more they're going to find that stuff to actually be grateful for. Now, as I've said, we can only fit an hour, a certain amount into this evening, and I do want to encourage you, I'm not trying to pressure you, but want to encourage you that if you are able tonight or you want to grab a book, they're going to be out there. Somebody said to me that it feels like my voice is in there, and so if you've enjoyed what we're talking about tonight, can I encourage you just to take part in that. It's got a workbook in it, so it's actually an interactive part of putting your story into my story and working through your mental health journey alongside. It also has a free download of an album of 9 of my favourite songs of mine, so you get a bit of a free bonus there, my gift to you guys. But, tonight we've talked about a whole bunch of mental health things. If you've enjoyed what you've got, up on the screen there's a couple of QR codes. I encourage you, do you want to grab your phone out? If you're interested in following me on Instagram or Facebook, you feel free to get your phone out now and you can jump on that little QR code. Grab your phone, go, go, go. Not to just blow my trumpet, but you know what I said to you before? We get a lot of negative input. Would you agree? Sometimes our news feeds are full of doom and gloom. They're full of things that there is no answer for. They're full of very, very negative things. And I work really, really hard to try and make sure that I bring positive input out into the world. Try and be honest about my mental health. Try and be honest about my journey to really help others. It is an honour and a privilege to be here tonight. And I consider anyone who comes along on that journey with me, I'm really, really grateful, I really am, to you, to be part of that. And I want to finish tonight with a song that's really close to my heart. During that neck-minute year when things were really going quite pear-shaped, many nights I would do what we often do, particularly as women. I would hold it together for everybody else. Does that resonate? I'd hold it together for my boss. Hold it together for the kids, hold it together at work, hold it together at school, hold it together for my in-laws and the lady at the ASB. And I'd hold it together for, is anyone from the ASB, my beautiful mortgage manager. And the people that needed me to be strong, I was able to hold it together for. And then I'd get home. And I'd end up at home and I'd find myself in a situation where I would just put my kids to bed at one end of the house and I'd come back to the other end of the house, not because I'd come to the kitchen, not because the kitchen was a special place, but simply there were lots of doors between their rooms and the kitchen. And I would find the emotions that I had pushed down and squashed rising to the surface. And I would just be landing there at the end of the long day, and I would just cry and sob and scream as I was trying to deal with figuring out how I could come back from where my life had got to. And it wasn't nice crying like the movies, you know, snot flying, dirty crying, mascara running. Anyone been in that situation? You know when you do that funny yodeling, you're like, and you just can't stop. Because when we really hit the end, just don't care anymore. It's like when you go to hospital and they put you in that gown, and everyone's like, oh, I can see your bum. Yeah, I don't care. I've come to the end of myself. And I remember just lying and landing and thinking, how am I going to come back from this? What am I going to do? If I could talk to that girl lying down on the kitchen floor now from nearly 12 years on, you know, I would encourage her to look ahead. My life today, it's almost completely unrecognisable from what it was before, but it's beautiful in its own way. I would never have dreamed that I would have the privilege of coming and speaking to you guys here tonight. I would never have dreamed that I would have the opportunity to share my mental health and wellbeing story and some of the tools and the tips that I have used. Talking to you tonight about your stressed out brain and how to make a good plan, about our wobbly point and listening to our body when it's telling us that something's not quite right. About finding yourself a jelly buddy, someone that you can trust just to pull into your world, and those tiny little 1 degrees of change that can help in the process. I would never have dreamed that I would be invited or trusted to speak on this subject, and it's truly an honour to be here tonight. But a wise man once said, if you're walking through a fire, don't stop. It's not a good place for a picnic. Maybe a barbecue, I don't know. But I would be, naive to think that there won't be women in this room tonight who are going through really difficult times. And one of the hardest things that the human brain finds to do is to unstitch one dream and to reimagine a new one. And I encourage you that if you're going through difficult times, there is so much left to live for. From my heart to yours, this is for the girl on the kitchen floor. This song is for the girl on the kitchen floor. I'm so grateful that I'm not her anymore, but I never will forget how she cried there on the concrete every night. This song is for the girl who had given up, who had watched her dreams and promises go up in smoke as she faced the bitter knowledge there was no more comfort inside. I want to tell that girl that life will be beautiful again. I want to tell that girl that her days will be full of love again. And I've got miles and miles to go, but in my heart of hearts I know there is so much left to live for. Girl on the kitchen floor. And this song is for the hearts who were shattered and torn, who are living in the darkest hour just before the dawn. Hold on, better days are coming. that her days will be full of love again. And I've got miles and miles to go, but in my heart of hearts I know there is so much left to live for, girl, on the kitchen floor. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak so freely about my journey and to encourage you in yours. When it comes to your mental health, kia kaha, kia mai, kia manawa nui, be strong, be steadfast, and be willing. Thank you.
Julia, we are so thankful for your honesty, for your creativity and your vulnerability. How hard it must be at times to be that honest. We receive that with such warmth and thankfulness.